All right, real happy to have my next guest on the Sports Card Shop guest line. One of the hardest working guys in the hobby, as I like to say. There's a few, but this guy's in the mix for one. On that top line, and glad to finally have him on the show and get to chop it up with him. Alex Tressler, welcome to Sports Card Nation.
I appreciate it, John. Everyone everyone says, hey, really hardworking and stuff like that. And again, like we've discussed this off air. Like if it's not fun, like hey, it could be hard and fun at the same time. And it is a grind. It is, but I appreciate you having me come on and anyone that really can see people like really going out there and trying to get amongst the community, amongst the hobby, rather than just staying online and hiding behind the computer. I'm a people person. I've always been a people person. I don't think I can ever be that type of person to remote work and everything else like that. I've got to be right there next to someone. So
Yeah,
I'm out
I'm
there.
a people person too, but more now, more the older, the second half of my life here than my younger. I'm actually, believe it or not, pretty shy guy, especially when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then I think you get to an age, Alex. I mean, in my case, only speaking for myself, you get to an age and you're like, you know what? I don't care what people think. I'm just gonna be myself, and then I think you sort of open up more and you get less shy and less inhibition. So
Yeah.
it probably took me like 30 years, 20 some years and change to get to there. But I get it, right? That's what the hobby, like the tagline of the show is, right? The hobby is the people, and to
Hmm.
share that passion with a group of folks, and that's what it's all about. And we're gonna talk about that grind here later in the conversation, but like you said, it's got to be fun too. If it's just a grind and no fun, then you're not going to last very long, or you're probably going to, get sick or burn yourself out and that sort of thing. So it's got to be a little bit of both, and you do a great job.
Thank you.
We're gonna pick your brain to how you pull it off and that sort of thing coming up. But it's your first time on this pod. It's kind of the question we always start off with the first time you're on is kind of where did the hobby start for you? How, why, where, all that fun stuff.
Um, I mean, like most people, the hobby started years ago when I was a real young kid. I collected with my dad and my brother, growing up and everything, and little things from just the little card shows to our LCS that we had in town. Trying to find packs and stuff. Didn't really back then. There wasn't bounties. There wasn't cards that everyone was searching for because they're worth a whole bunch of money. There's a passion, the passion of just spending the time with your dad and your brother doing this type of stuff. We would get the cereals and get the UPCs, send them in, say send the packs back and everything else like that. We'd be so indulged in that. Be like, I need more honeycomb cereal, mom, because we got to get some packs and everything, in the mail. Little things like that. That's where it originally started, but I tell everyone, and I know a lot of people probably think the same way. At some point back then, it stopped. Like I think the Men in Black, pretty much used the mind eraser type of thing. It's like I did nothing with cards. I blame it on probably puberty, and I found out those girls and everything else and stuff like that, right? So there was a big gap there. I wasn't involved in it, and the thing is like today's society, you see that gap where I wasn't in it, and a lot of people probably weren't either. Those kids, those young adults, those teenagers and stuff are in it like crazy, which is incredible. I love seeing that. But I came back in as an adult, had a pretty bad divorce, and I needed a hobby. This is a hobby. I need something, get my mind off everything. And I saw one of my coworkers was like, bring your kids to work day and stuff like that. And him and his son was opening a 2008 Topps Chrome baseball box. And I was just like, wow, like the card stock looks a little different. It's pretty cool looking. And then they pulled an autograph, and I'm like, I don't remember that from like the really early late 80s to early 90s. I don't remember autos like so much in the packs. So, like most other people, I did a deep dive. I went on Google, I went on YouTube, I went everywhere else, and I was just search, and I just saw all of a sudden, I'm like, holy crap! Like this industry is monstrous. There's bigger cards out there, pretty cool cards. Their jerseys and patches are included in it. top of autographs, and there's so many different products. Um, and that's when I found out that one of the people that was online opening for people and everything on YouTube, Chris Justice from Cards Infinity,
Yep. Yep.
literally lived an hour, not even an hour away from me in Wilmington, North Carolina, where his shop was, the Hobby Box was at. And I was at the time in Port Bragg, North Carolina. Picked his brain a good bit and started my own YouTube channel in 2008. Started doing some group breaks myself, which is completely different from then and from today, because the community, we were all just trying to get into an expensive product for a fraction of the price. The power of a group break. But we're all collectors. We weren't trying to make money on it. We weren't businesses and everything else. We were just trying to have fun and enjoying it. And I had a couple big hits, a couple big reactions that went viral right away back when a hit goes viral in 2008, like that's like 2000 people seeing it compared to the millions that see this stuff today, right? And a lot of people know me from that. I know a lot of content creators that are out there today that are in the younger generation. They, when they see me at shows, when they see me everywhere else, they're like, yeah, you used to be the person I watched when I was in middle school. You used to be in this and that and stuff. I thank you so much for, I can't believe you're still around and everything. So it just grew and grew and grew, and then over the years now that I'm out of the military now and everything, and it's more of a, it is a passion and a hobby, and I'm able to have more time to do more stuff with it. So it's evolved to even more greater than I thought it would ever be right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, I think you agree with this too, Alex. I'm 40 years plus doing this now. It's a completely different hobby. I think you sort of touched on that. And I grew up in the era where you'd have packs or you'd buy a box of cards, and your buddies, hey, I opened mine. Let me help you open some of yours. And I'd be like, no, I'll get your own or get more, right? And we went from that era to now you mentioned like group breaking where you pay somebody and they literally open the packs for you, and then you get the cards potentially. So it's just funny how stuff that you know we wouldn't have never thought of then or thought of doing then is just the norm now. It's like no big deal, and how that opinions and different things can change. I even when I was younger, like you'd never get a rookie card signed. You would ruining it. You were writing
Mm.
on that player's rookie card. Now that's a huge market, and then you factor in the grading and the authentication. So it's just different things will change, and what sort of we were like didn't like or didn't accept before is now really just even what's expected, and it's funny how the hobby evolves
Well,
and
I'll even
yeah,
I'll
go
even chime
ahead.
in. Like, how many people are putting a card on the back of their bike spokes to make it sound like a motorcycle and everything these days? Or I should say, like, put it in the back of their hoverboard, right? Because that's what people ride around and stuff like that and everything these days. So that, I mean, yes, everything changes. Like, we wouldn't even think to put any cards to ruin them on a bike these days, whatever. Even though majority of the people base cards and packs are just like, this is Kingling. We could throw this away or whatever. They wouldn't even think to do that.
Yeah, it's funny. My dad, who's been on the show twice, to tell stories about the manels and the cards that they had back then, and just threw them around, rubber band. People know it's. I'm not gonna spend too much time with, but it's a different hobby, and and in many cases a better one as well. I don't want to make it sound like it's the old man on the porch, although I'm a little bit of that. First off, thank you for your military service to the country during your time in the service. How much of the hobby was going on while you were, sir? Did you have, um, you know, army, people that you worked with that also collect? Did you have time? I know, you were deployed and different things like that. Were you able to still hobby during that time, or did it have to sort of go on the back burner?
So when I got back into in 2008, of course, I was in the military at that time for 8 years because I came in 2000. I retired just 2 years ago after 22 years. So for the last, you can do the simple, quick math, right? I was pretty immersed in it. YouTube channel, was going strong from mail days and opening boxes in Afghanistan during my downtime and everything else. I blow out cards, shout out to them. I stuff they would send me packages, I would order, and I would get them in 5 days in Afghanistan. Like, that's faster than the West Coast gets product
Well,
from me.
it's faster than shipping today.
Yeah, it's wild that I would get, because they'd have to come in MPS, military postal service, and whenever people see addresses, they're like, "What's APO AE? What's APO? That's Armed Forces Europe, or Armed Forces over in Asia and stuff like that, for Korea and stuff like that. Like, those are pretty probably veterans, military service members that it goes over to their addresses. So luckily we had like even a FedEx on the base when I was deployed. One of the no, not the last time, first time in that second time in Afghanistan. Um, and I would be busting boxes. I would be opening stuff. And my biggest hits were actually in Afghanistan that I've ever pulled in my life. And I've sold them on eBay, and I shipped them out via FedEx, and then I got to them, like everyone has these the stories, just like, I sold too soon, or what's the one I regret, and everything. And mine is orange Bowman first of Mike Trout from '09 draft, 1 of 25 auto. I knew it was mine because I saw it later in a Facebook group. It was graded 9/5/10 from BGS, and I knew it was mine because it was 1 of 25. I sold that card raw for $700. And at the time, right in the
Yeah,
beginning of 2010, he wasn't a top prospect. He was his base autos that go for a couple thousand a day were selling for $25. So the orange paid for the whole case. The whole case was $700, and it paid for it. And back then I was ecstatic. I'm like, I don't know who this prospect is, whatever. I think the peak during COVID, that card got to close to $1 million. So, that
yeah,
everyone has those stories and stuff. And then I'm like, here, I got one for you. Like, I'm not trying to trump you, but I'm pretty sure I win.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I've been digging deep in it. If it wasn't YouTube groups, it was the forums, it was Facebook groups, it was everything from the breaking on YouTube to Breakers TV to Block TV to to what it is today, and Fanatics and whatnot and everything else, and all the different newer apps that are out there and stuff. I get immersed in it, and I just have fun.
Yeah, that's what the hobby's supposed to be, fun. And yeah, I hear you. I feel your pain a little bit on the Mike Trout, but like you said, you didn't know, and you didn't lose. You didn't lose. I guess that's
No.
the silver lining. If we all had, hindsight being 2020, right? If we all knew then what we know now, right? We all. I don't have that. You're right. That beats my story, but mine is, and I've told it a million times. So I'll just mention real quick. Just being in New York, Jeter '93, the SP foil rookie, was a big deal. I didn't think he was going to be what he wound up turning out to be. I thought he was just a good looking young guy, starting shortstop for the Yankees. So I thought he was a little overrated. So in probably a 2 to 3 year span, I just sold probably 130 to 150 of those from and I'm not saying I wouldn't have sold some, but I definitely would have kept a lot more,
Yeah.
knowing now what if I knew then what I know now.
When
But
when whenever
you
whenever
can't.
whenever someone
Yeah,
finds Marty McFly, just send them our way so we can go back and
yeah,
tell
we'll
ourselves.
go with we'll
Yeah.
get in the DeLorean with Dr. Brown and tell him
Yeah.
we'll take turns going
Just don't
to different.
sell anything. Just wait till 2020 and then go ham. Trust us and buy all the Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's funny. How big when during your military time were there a lot of people like were coworker? Were you did you have some people that were collecting like you were, or was it
So
more?
so I
Yeah, go
think
ahead.
I can, a lot of people can understand the same concept that I'm going to talk about is how many people out there try to not so much hide the hobby, right, from other individuals because they're kind of not saying ashamed of it, but they don't want to be thought of differently, right? In the military, you have to think there's a lot of A-type personalities out there, and how would my coworkers and stuff think that about me collecting, little baseball cards, basketball cards, and stuff like that? So it wasn't something that you're like shouting off the rooftops and everything. What you shout off is just like, yeah, I got this card for like $20 and I sold it for 300. Like, oh, I made a nice little profit. Eventually, when someone finds out you're doing it, be like, well, there's another aspect of it. It's cool to collect stuff. Like people collect stamps, everything else, right? And stuff, whatever. Like this is what I collect. This is my hobby. Like you could be working on your motorcycles. You can be doing this or whatever. Like that's your hobby. Everyone is different. And that's what's great about this world. But in the military aspect, you think of the A-type personalities and everything, you're just trying to be like, I'm trying to be better than everyone else and this and that or whatever, probably getting the mindset. So you're not going around, you really telling a lot of people, and you just randomly run into them at like the LCS or something like that. You can tell from each other. You have the haircuts and you're wearing a certain clothes and stuff like that. You'd be like, are you in the military? You are, and everything. And there's more people out there. I know I did a piece for Hobby News Daily on it, talking about there's a lot of military veterans out there that people just don't know. Like they were in already before or in whatever, right? I mean, I was an hour north of you in Watertown when I was stationed at Fort Drum, New York. Like
Yeah,
had no clue
that's
you were
right.
there. Like it's wild.
Yeah,
But I've ran into multiple people, of course, how it got me back in as an adult, like the story I said earlier, and a few other times where I've traveled to other states and everything. I've ran into other individuals that got very interested because, one, they were probably scrolling through YouTube, and somehow the algorithm just like, I saw you come across my YouTube stuff. Like, what are you doing? And it still happens today. My Instagram, my TikToks, and stuff like that. I have people be like, reach out to me, or I see them at work and everything now. Be like, hold on a second. And the funniest one was my one of my boss's kids actually is into the hobby and stuff, and he just moved here, and he called me in his office. He's like, I got a question for you. ArmyATC22. And I'm like, yep, that's me. I'm just like, so do you collect cards? Do you have, are you in a hobby? He's like, my son is, and apparently now I'm going to, so I need some help. So that rolled into me doing more jobs as the social media manager for the company and stuff like that too. So it's pretty cool. And everything. But yeah, there's more military people out there than most people know that are involved in it. And that can be a good thing because we're the military get instilled with the discipline and everything else like the integrity and stuff like that, right? Well, you need a lot of that stuff in this hobby, especially the discipline of not blowing your whole paycheck on one box of cards or something else like that, right? And everything. So there's a lot of us out there. You just got to find us.
yeah, it's a great point too. Like in 2008, the hobby was in a different place, and it wasn't mainstream as it is as much as it is today. You didn't have celebrity endorsements or celebrities. You didn't have heck. Social media wasn't what it is now.
No.
Then, right? It was in its infancy, and that sort of thing. So it's. I heard your answer, and it makes a lot of sense, and I get that. For what do you collect at this point, Alex? What's your what
Hmm.
do you kind of gravitate towards?
I have multiple things that I do. Like a lot of people know my main collection is Pat Tillman, the ties that I have with him being in the army and the sacrifice that he did of, leaving the NFL to become, into the military and being he turned into Army Ranger and everything else like that or whatever. So a lot of my main collection for cards is just Pat Tillman. And now I have a side collection of a lot of, iconic type of cards. Like, I have slabs of I just picked up at the Philly show. Um, Walter Payton's rookie card. I picked up a PSA 5 of him at the Philly show. I didn't have one. I had one before, and I was just like, eventually I'll get another one. Griffey's rookie. All the basic, ones that people know. Like I have a collection, and that's the investment side of the house. Eventually maybe I'll, upgrade them to higher grade ones. But for now, I'm just glad to have them. And then I have some oddball ones. I collect more instead of the cards aspect. I collect more memorabilia, full size helmets, jerseys, and stuff like that for my eventually future man cave. And to be able to display on the wall, display in the background and everything else like that. I have a goal to have all 32 teams, NFL teams, helmets on the sides of the walls, AFC on one side, NFC on the other, all at least signed by someone from those teams. And that took, trying to sit there, right, and think of this, like, you can think of your team you follow, but try to think of 31 teams of who you would want on their helmets. How many teams have so many greats that came across there, right? And every person's different. They're all going to give you the different answers and everything. I sat down and spent hours just like, well, I want a Deion Sanders auto. Well, instead of having him on the Cowboys, why don't you get him on the Falcons, right? Because and then you can take that, and then, all right, what about this and then that, jumping around. It's pretty interesting. So I have a pretty big memorabilia collection with baseballs and bats and jerseys and helmets and stuff like that. And then my last one is like 8x10s or higher photos, signed photos and stuff of celebrities and other things. Because I remember Chris Justice, he did a lot of the TriStar, the Leaf, mystery photos, the 8x10s and everything. And he did cheap breaks. Like, you're getting spots for like $10 for a last name letter for a case, and I have autos of like Adam Sandler, Christian Bale, Tom Hanks and a Forrest Gump, 8x10, a whole bunch of them. And now it's turning into, these 8x10s that I'm getting pictures with these athletes and stuff. When I'm doing stuff, I eventually want to get them signed, because I'm gonna have them on the wall with me. So it's overall, I have a plethora of different things, and I'm just all over the place.
Nothing wrong with that, and it's cool. And I love how it shows the analytical side, right? Like, you can get Dion on the Dallas helmet, but then that might eliminate Aikman or Emmett or someone, even Staubach, right? But you put him on the Falcons, that clears the way for the Dallas auto still, right? So it shows that analytical
Yep.
mind. You kind of using some strategy here to how to make the best, 32 helmets that you can get if you go with one signature per. And there's no wrong. Now, I always say there's no wrong way to hobby. It's what you
No.
enjoy. You can always change the direction you're going if it does get stale to you, or you're not enjoying it as much. And so you always say, I always say, you're the CEO of your own hobby. You can decide what direction you want to go in, and different things you want to do.
And that's another thing I can bring up. It's resiliency, right? If you in this industry, and a lot of things that you do in real life, right? I'm a master resiliency trainer, certified by University of Penn, that I got through the military and everything. And there's a lot of tools and techniques, that you go through adversity. And it's what you do when you bouncing back from it, what you do after that, is what makes you you, right? And there's a lot of tips and tricks that you can do to help yourself get out of that rut, get out of that stuff that's happening maybe, and stuff like that, that could lead to other things, just the downfall and stuff, whatever. And you can use it in this hobby, in this industry, so much, like, oh, I went all in on Trevor Lawrence, and look at this, he's on the decline. Well, all right, maybe just use some of that money, find another prospect, and you can just talk it out and everything else like that. So yeah, it's like you were saying, you have to be able to divert and whatever, and that's where I bring in the resiliency aspect a lot, and helping people overcome the adversity sometimes that you can have in this hobby.
And every once in a while, I'll get a DM, Alex, or an email, or even someone directly and say, John, like, I'm a little burnt out, right? I'm just the hobbies. I'm not in a good place with it. And sometimes I'll tell them, like, take a break, take a weekend off, take a couple weeks off, take a month off, right? You don't have to do, your cards don't have to go anywhere. Put,
Nope.
wherever they are, they can stay. Just kind of take a breather from it, and you'd be surprised. You do that, it's the old cliche saying, right? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes you'll miss it. You don't miss it because you're always doing it, but if you take a little bit of a break from it, excuse me, you realize, like, hey, I do love it. I just need to cut back a little bit so I appreciate it where I'm not just overwhelming myself with it. And I've given out that advice, and I've gotten responses back. Hey man, that was great advice. I took a couple weeks. I didn't open eBay. I didn't touch any of my cards. I didn't do anything, and I missed it. And I came back, and I was just like recharged and ready to get back on the horse again. And it's just a matter of taking a break. Sometimes we need a break. And like you said, it's not just a hobby, it could be anything. That's why we get vacations, or hopefully you get free people. I don't want someone listening like, I don't know what a vacation is, but
Yeah.
that's why we get vacations from the jobs we have, or hopefully you do, right? To
Hmm.
kind of, get away and recharge, and however that may be, whether that's a staycation or traveling somewhere, for a week, or what have you. So, sometimes that's, or just pivoting. Maybe, hey, this doesn't do it for me anymore. I'm gonna collect, cut autos. I'm gonna collect
Hmm.
memorabilia. I never collected memorabilia before. I'm gonna dip my toe in that pool. And so, there's just the hobby's so big and has so many tentacles to it. I always tell people, if one way just doesn't do it for you anymore, try a different way, and it's worth a shot. And even like, different levels of income. I know the hobby can be an expensive hobby. We both know that, but there's other, it can be affordable too. There's different levels to that.
Yes, 100%.
So, we kind of opened up with talking about the grind. You're a busy guy. You mentioned Hobby News Daily. You write for them. You do a lot of you're big on social media. Well, before we get into the grind, kind of, what, for those that don't know, what you do, some of the companies you work with, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I started writing for Hobby News Daily about a month ago, a month and change ago, which is now inadvertently, a lot of people don't know this. I was also signed to SI Collectibles, so I'm gonna be writing for them too, and actually have about 5, 6 pieces that I'm in the middle of writing right now, for them and everything. I'm just gonna be pumping out a lot of stuff for them. I know a couple of the individuals that were involved with it. Um, from the Richmond area and stuff like that, and it's just like, hey, we you're out and about. You're right there with the hobby. We have these other people that are, reporting on everything that's happening, throughout the world and stuff like that. Like we'd like to see some pieces and stuff from like on the ground and everything else like that. So um and so I took that on. It was incredible. I also work with the company Vaulted. Shane, it's the cases and the displays and stuff like that. Every once in a while, makes some videos. He sent me some products. Some of the best displaying products that are out there and everything else like that. It all stemmed from me winning a giveaway. I won a giveaway for one of the cases. They actually could show the cards on the front, and it just turned into me. All the shows I was going to, the LCSs I was visiting and stuff. Everyone in there was like, "Where can I get this at?" Like, I really like this. Nothing against Zion cases or any other cases because I didn't even have a Zion case back then. They're all good. All the cases are good, but some people just might want another one for a different reason, and they're just like, "Where's it at? Where can we find this?" And I all of a sudden he had a lot of traffic to his website for people doing orders in the Richmond Tidewater area, and he's just like, maybe I should reach out to Alex, maybe a little bit of stuff for him. So it's been a great relationship, and I'm glad to be a part of it. uh Stand up displays, I've done a few things with them and stuff too. Whatever I do, I have a code. If you're ever looking to buy anything with stand up displays, discount code ArmyATC22, get a nice little 15% off, right? And 15 or 20, actually it might be 20%. And helps, that goes a long way. I know there's a lot of people these days want stand up displays and get bulk orders and stuff, and that little bit extra comes off. But I know them really well. Dan and Caitlin, who is one of the main people that go around in selling the product and stuff like that. Me and her, we've collabed multiple times prior to the national and everything else for some stuff that hopefully we'll be able to continue on down the road. But also, am a media ambassador. I work with CSA show. which is also the Philly show. Well, not the same people, but the same group, whatever, kind of run both shows, and also leading into the national, and media stuff for the national, and helping them with a whole bunch of different things, behind the scenes and stuff. Um, and because they're looking for the management out there, the change of the guard. I know we're going to discuss in a little bit. Um, Out there is looking for a lot of feedback from the people that go to the shows, right? They're like, how can we make this better and everything else? And they saw how much that I'm already involved already with a couple of shows that they're involved with it too. And getting my 2 cents and helping out and stuff like that with the trade nights and everything else too is going a long way, because I'm here for the people, right? The hobby is the people, and without the people, like, we wouldn't have a hobby. So yeah, so I'm dabbling a little bit of everything.
And now people know what I was talking about in the open when I said one of the hardest working guys in the hobby. And like you said, we talked a little bit before we started recording, and I'm not traveling as much as you, so I'm not trying to compare that, but I do a lot of shows in the central New York, northern New York area. Then I go to some of these shows, not as a dealer anymore, but just in support of the podcast and as a collector to buy some cards and that sort of thing. And I don't do probably, 1/8, 1/6 of what you're doing. And it can be a grind sometimes, or I have to look at my phone and like, what do I got coming up? Where do I got to be? I can't do this because I'll be there. Um, you know, so how many? It's not an exact science, but about how many shows are you at per year? Would you say?
I originally put out that I didn't want to do more than one a month, and it turns into probably at least two. I would
Yeah,
say I'd say about 24. I mean, because there's, I think, some months might be like three, so which averages out, because like December's is only one, well, like one,
yeah.
and everything else like that. I'd probably say like 24 to 25, maybe a year.
Yeah, and that's a lot, especially if they're not all local, and then obviously they're
Uh,
not in your case. So that include whether it be driving or flying, and anyone that's been in the national for the whole week knows the wear and tear that takes on you, right? The steps and the
yeah.
walking and that sort of thing. And even in a 2 or 3 day show, there's wear and tear, you know. Uh,
There is, and we can revert back to what we were saying about giving people vacations, right? If you go to these shows for flying around, if you're flying to Dallas, if you're flying to LA to go to, the West Coast Card Show, formerly known as the Burbank Card Show, if you're flying to CSA, you're flying to New York to go to the East Coast National, you're going to the National, it's going to be in Chicago for the next 3 years. When you leave the show, yes, there's going to be trade nights all over the place. There's going to be so much stuff going on. Go see the city, right? Go out, and if you already did the one part of getting to there, you have the hotel, go vacation a little bit, right? Get your mind off things. Go see what they have. Maybe, hey, look up some stuff for the city. Hey, what's Chicago have to offer? A lot of people, if you do the research right now, because I've already started doing it, is the White Sox have a homestead in the beginning of the week, and the Cubs have a homestead at the end of the week. The Cubs are playing the Orioles, and the White Sox are playing the Phillies, all during the National going on. Go head up a game. Go get some, Chicago dogs. Go try the deep dish pizza. Go see, some of the tallest buildings in the country there, and everything. Go see the cities you're going to on top of it, and overall, you're gonna get refreshed and come in the next day ready to rock. Um, so yeah, yeah. So traveling around and stuff, and it's funny is because people see me travel everywhere and stuff, and there's not a lot where I'm getting on the plane. Like, I drive a lot of places, and a lot of stuff on the East Coast. There's a lot of local shows that are within a couple hours kind of range. That's kind of what I deal with and everything. And then of course I do go a little bit farther out for the Philly show. I'm going to be doing the White Plains show in January. I'm actually going to go up there and to that, and try hopefully to get over to Nashville and everything else. I want to do a couple other ones, a little bit Midwest. I need to go see my boys RBI Crew 7, Ryan and Neil, over there in the St. Louis area. So yeah, there's it's fun. Like, I enjoy it. But it's a toll for sure.
Yeah, and it's and I don't mean that, and I think you know, not necessarily in a bad way. It's just that's just normal wear and tear that's going to happen. I don't care if you're just going on a regular vacation. You
Mhm.
know, but you always hear people say, "I need a vacation from my vacation. I'm tired." Right? So it's just it comes with the territory. And a great point by you, Alex, with whatever city you're in and for whatever show. You know, when the show doors close, catch a ball game, go to dinner, try the local fare. Um, you know, I know Ryan from Breakout Cards. He's a music guy like I am. You know, besides sporting events, which I try to go to, I even see, hey, there are any bands in
Yep.
town just by coincidence
Yep.
that I like and you know want to see. I haven't had it happen yet, but I've definitely been to some ball games, dinner with friends, and all that stuff. It's a great point too. Is even though it might be with someone who's in the hobby like us, it's something different than the hobby. It's sort of, you know, like you said, you come in recharged the next day, energized,
Yeah.
and whatnot. I'm not a trade night guy, so when the show ends, like I'm looking for that, whether it be dinner or you know in Chicago White Sox Cubs game, in Cleveland I went to a an Indians Tigers game last year.
Did you
So
go
the
to the
night
rock?
doesn't end.
You're
It's just the
you're a
show ends.
you're a music guy. Did you go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame while you were there?
I did. I did. I actually did. That was the first thing we did
Yep.
before getting to that. I came in a day earlier to check that off
Yeah,
the bucket list.
bucket list. We came in a few days earlier and we went to the Guardians game the night before, but earlier that day we were actually at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We went down to Canton and actually, took that little 45-minute drive, down to
Yeah,
Canton, and we went to that. So it was pretty cool and everything. It's you just got to find those things. You said you're not a trade night guy. I am. I love being amongst the
yeah,
people. I'm the people person. I want to hear the stories. I want to see the people interacting with everybody and stuff like that. And that's why I've gotten really really in with the national and helping them with their trade nights, moving
yeah,
forward and stuff, because I just want the best experience for all these collectors. These thousands of collectors is going to be in this one room and just seeing them all, wheeling and dealing and talking and chatting up, and maybe celebrities coming in or athletes coming in, and just the excitement in their faces and stuff, like all night long, after they just did it all day long around the corner inside the main halls and stuff. Now these are collectors with collectors, because a lot of the vendors don't go to those. A lot of the vendors, because they're all day wheeling and dealing. They're like, we don't need to go to that. And these are the collectors one on one, having a good time.
yeah, and just I have nothing against them. I don't want to come as like
Yeah,
anti.
no,
It's
not
just
at all.
not.
You weren't.
It's not my scene, and I don't want to say it's not my scene, but at that point, I want to go to a sporting event or dinner and like try to be winding down 10, 11 o'clock. You know this just as well. Some of these trade nights are going 2, 3 in the morning,
I had
and
one of my best profit making flips at the Chicago National 2 years ago, with Jay Mojo Sports called me up at like 2:30 in the morning saying, "Hey, we're still going strong. Come on over here." So I took the Uber back over to his hotel, and there's like 10 people in the lobby that were dealing, and someone came up, and I did a did a quick deal for $200 for a card, and within 24 hours I made $2,000 profit on that one card.
yeah, that's cool. Like I said, I don't have anything against it. I just
Yeah,
these old
everyone's
bones.
different.
The younger version of me could take that on. The older version of me, I got to be snoring at that time, and
But when I so now
or
now
the
I have
next day I could do it. I could do it, Alex. But the next day I'm gonna be in no shape to make it
no,
through.
and with me doing work for these shows and stuff like that now and everything, trust me, I'm changing. I don't want to be out there till freaking 3 in the morning, because I know in 5 hours I have to be up there, hopefully shooting, some content of them, people coming in the doors to, something's happening at the Tops booth or anything else and stuff like that, right? I got to be on my toes, especially if, these companies, these bigger companies, and the whole show as a whole wants me there doing that stuff. Like, as much fun as I want to have all night long, especially in Chicago, because you got Rivers Casino right down the road, right, too. That's where the whole, if everyone listening right now, if you want to find where everyone is, if they're not at a trade night, they're all at Rivers Casino gambling that night. And you might run into a few athletes there gambling too. Just gonna give you
Yeah.
that little heads up too. But yeah, it's just like, I just turned 43, and I'm not as young as as three-quarters of the people that are out at those shows these days and stuff like that. So, I gotta tone it back. As much as I want to go hard in the paint, I gotta tone it back to myself.
Yeah, I got 9 years on you. If I'm up at 3 o'clock, I can't go. At that point, I'm not going to go to sleep because that'll do more damage. Uh, that'll do more damage than good. I might as well just stay awake and just grind it out. But yeah, the 52-year-old version of me is not the same as 35-year-old version of me.
No,
I like to convince myself otherwise, but my body says no soup for you. So
no soup for
uh,
you. Great.
so I
Seinfeld's one of my favorite shows of all time.
yeah, and when your last name's Newman, you better like Seinfeld. You know, and you're from New York City. So your
Yeah.
last name's
So
Newman and you're originally from New York City. You better like Seinfeld. Because if I had a nickel for every "Hello Newman" I get, I'd be retired already. So there you go. But yeah, I really I appreciate you sharing that too. I think not. I think most people know. I don't want to paint with a broad brush, Alex. I think most people know the work you put in and others and whatnot. But I think there's some. The reason I like to talk to someone who does that and have them kind of talk about that is for the ones that really don't realize they think it's just 100% fun and it's like Star Trek and you just teleport to wherever you're supposed to be and then it's difficult sometimes leaving the show and getting to another area, whether it be
correct.
by Uber or mass transport or even your own vehicle. Like I drove to
Mhm.
Cleveland, and
Same.
we had for
Same.
different things. So there's a lot that goes into planning your itinerary, and yes, it's fun. I'm not sitting here, you know, for having a pity party for people putting in the work. I just want them to get sort of that deserved credit for the grind and the wherewithal to get all this stuff done and provide that content. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm coming
I
from
appreciate
there.
it. I appreciate it. A lot of people don't realize, so many people just like, man, you're posting every day. You got a video every day on Instagram, you're putting stuff on TikTok, you're doing all this stuff. Like, how do you have the time for this? I'm like, look at the videos, right? How many of these videos do I have the same outfit on, right? I'm putting so much, it's a lot of video capturing different things at one show or at one time. And it's just spread off throughout, months and weeks and everything, right? There's this is if anyone's into content creation and stuff like that, right? Like this time of year is normally the one that's hardest to if there's no shows going on, nothing's happening, don't know what's really to do for content creation. This is where all your backloaded stuff that you could have be like, oh, I wanted to do this at some point. Now you can bring that video forward, cut it and crop it and put it out there. You know, I I have had times where I sat in where I do a lot of my videos and stuff on my dining room table. I'll take like 5 shirts and like 10 hats and I mix and match and I just in my mind I want to do this, this, and this. I'll bulk record. I'll do this and this and this and this, and it's all saved for rainy days, for times where you just, all right, I already have this already done. I don't really want to do anything else, just to keep the consistency going. Right. And that's where a lot of the grind is. It's behind the camera, the editing aspect and stuff like that. And over time, you get better at it. You have fun with it. And I've enjoyed finding new templates and everything else and music that to be added to it and other little clips and stuff like that. How can this be funny? and everything else like that. That's why like a lot of my stuff is hodgepodge of this and then that and then this and that. I'm all over because I just like I'm gonna post something that I feel I'd want to see, right? And hopefully, my the audience that watches my stuff would want to see it too.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I've gotten a little bit better at that. Is kind of doing a bunch of stuff like pick a day and maybe really tackling some content creation and knocking a bulk out of it in one day rather than even every day, if you
Mhm.
will. You do a better job with the set changes and clothing changes, though. Anyone that sees me, it might be the same shirt or hat. So hats
Well,
off to you there. To you
this
there.
is this is like the one time that I'm not like I'm a walking billboard. Like everyone gives me their shirts and their hats and stuff, and I'm constantly switching around, supporting so many different people
Yeah,
because and not one person's paying me to wear it, right?
yeah,
Recently, Mantle, the new
yeah,
app just recently started up. I mean, they already had the website and everything. They just launched the app. Evan Parker sent me. I mean,
yeah,
he was just on yours,
yeah,
right? He sent me the hat to wear because I met him back at the National and everything else this past year, gave me one of his hat actually at Fanatics Fest. And I wear it all the time. And he's seen it in the videos, right? And everything.
yeah.
I'm not getting paid for that. Right. I'm
Well,
just
you
and I tell everyone,
and
I'm a walk.
that's a good thing. That's a good thing because
Yes.
it's organic and
Yes.
you like the platform, right? And I
100%.
now I'm a very transparent person. We have sponsors on this very podcast that you're listening to, but I would never have a sponsor that I don't either don't use or wouldn't use. And I've
Then
said
that's the
no.
way you should be.
I've
Yep.
said no, and I've had someone ask me, "You're saying no?" Like, yeah,
Yes.
I don't,
Because you have to
I don't
back
take
you
it
have to
personal.
back it. You have to
Yeah,
back it. If
I
you
don't want to
feel
be a
in your
shill.
mind, yes, if
You
you
know.
believe in your mind, you don't believe in that
Yep.
product or brand or
Yep.
whatever like that, there's no
Yep.
don't. Just because
Yep.
they're offering some money and stuff like that, you're not selling yourself, right? You don't want to.
Yep.
So, and then
Yep.
that's awesome. So,
Yep. Well, we brought it. We touched on the national a little bit. It's under new leadership. The one in Cleveland that happened near the end of July, front end of August was their first, not their first show, but their first national under their belt. I enjoyed Cleveland, the city itself as well. Like you said, you get the Rock and Roll Hall. I think I said Indians earlier. It's Guardians. I still do that. Probably always
yep.
will at some point or another. But went to a Guardians Tigers game. But the show itself, I thought was very well put on. I know people complained about traffic. Full again. I'm a transparent person. Having a media badge, I was there very early, so I've sort of avoided some of the stuff other people were complaining about. So maybe I'm not the best guy to talk about it. Wi-Fi just seems to be an issue regardless of city. I'm not an IT guy, but I really enjoyed Cleveland. I know people are saying that might be the last time we see it there. I hope that's not the case. I'm a little spoiled because I can drive to Cleveland, Alex. I can't drive to Chicago, and I know,
No,
like you
same.
said,
Same.
yeah,
I'm
we're
gonna be
gonna have
flying.
Chicago,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
the
be
next three
flying.
years, and I know Chicago's a great venue. I'm not picking on Chicago from that vantage point. I'm just saying from an east to get to, it's going to cost me more because I'm going to fly rather than drive, and
Yep.
that sort of thing. Um, but what did you think of the first go round for that new leadership group and the national itself in Cleveland?
I thought they did. Of course, they've been around the industry for a long time. They
Yeah,
just so happened to take it over finally from the old regime, and I think they fell into it and kept a lot of the same procedures, policies, and stuff that the previous years and everything. You can see a little differences of maybe upgrades here and there and some things, more modern type of stuff. I think they did a good job. Cleveland as a whole, I same way. I had to drive I mean I drove there, so I'd have the vehicle to get around because knowing the distance, a lot of people didn't know that, the hotels weren't right there next to it. Chicago next 3 years, you're within walking distance of like a million different hotels right there next to Rosemont to the convention center and everything, which is great. And the Ubers are a little bit easier right there too. Um, but the venue inside, and I think the people that had the VIP passes will probably say they loved it the most. If you went downstairs to the VIP room, which was, pretty much the whole bottom of the show, underneath you, there
I
was a
almost
show within a
felt, not
show.
to cut you off. I almost felt like it was a secret level,
It was
like
a
that. Not
show.
everybody
It
know.
was it was a show within a show. Like, it was technically a trade day all day long downstairs. They had stuff, people on the stage doing stuff throughout the day, but all the tables were filled with people wheeling and dealing, talking sports. And a lot of people didn't know that the food line down there was like this small compared to the food lines upstairs, like this small, this big. I
And
think
the bathroom, and the
in the
bathroom
bathroom, yeah,
line
the
is,
line was
you walk right in.
non-existent. Yes, non-existent. So, I think having a venue recreate like that experience for the VIP individuals, right? I don't. Chicago can't do that because, like, right now they're trying to do the same. They want the VIP room. And if you were in Chicago 2 years ago, that the Luddick's VIP room was a lot smaller. Like, it was a lot smaller compared to the VIP room last year. So they're trying to continue on with the same type of area, bigger area. This year's coming up in future, and that's one of the things I'm helping with a little bit, trying to figure that out. Are they going to have a big area, like they're going to have the national trade nights like they did this past year, and then just push everyone out, and then bring them back in because this was the VIP room and you're going to have a lot of different stuff there. They're doing what I'm saying. I think having that bigger area was incredible below, but like you said, it was like a hidden room that most people, if you didn't have the VIP badges and stuff, you couldn't get down there. Like, you didn't know, and until it was like the trade nights every night, that people was like, where was this? What this was going on down there the whole time. So, overall, breaking is become, big in the industry. So the whole whatnot area in the back, I'm telling you, when I first walked in there and I saw that, the screen whatnot had, and I thought I was at like at a casino in the sports book area. All the people were breaking on there at once. I think the layout was good, right? They had all corporates in one side and all the vendors and everything laid out. I think they're trying to figure out the analytics sides of where the people should be and stuff, and more of that's happening, which is I think is a good thing.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'll defend them a little bit, right there. Well, it's not their first foray into putting on a show. It's their first foray into putting on a national, and that's the Super Bowl
Correct.
of shows, right? And you're talking about an event, right? There's dealers that can't get tables. That there's a waiting list. I think there's more people every year in the hobby that are attending these nationals, or wanting to, or trying to. So it's a big task, and so for their first year on the job, if you will, as far as the national goes, I thought it was pretty good. I could nitpick, year two, well, maybe I'll be a little bit more like, all right, let's see what they learned or didn't learn,
Yeah.
and how they adapted, and what they've already made a decision, like to get more dealer table space, and get some people off that waiting list. So that's
Yep.
that's nice. As someone who is a dealer, I'm glad to see that, and I'm not on that list. I'm just saying, as a dealer, it's good to see like some people getting a table rather than not. That list maybe being a little shorter. So, they got a lot on their plate. It's good that they're listening to people, Alex, rather than sort of have tunnel vision or think they have all the answers, because no one has all the answers. But together, right, if we work together and pick various brains, right, maybe we can come up with some new ideas, new solutions, and different ways to approach something, right, to make it better and make it a better experience. So,
Great.
but the national, it's kind of the national is always to me going to be the Super Bowl, the hobby. I don't know if I'm the first one to say them. Maybe I'm not. I don't know, but that's how I look at it. Right? It's that week we circle on our calendars every year to buy some cards, for some people to obviously sell some cards, to get together with hobby friends and hobby family,
Yep.
and see each other maybe see someone for the first time or see someone again this year. And no matter who's in charge of it, that will never not be, to me, never not be
Yeah.
the case. And but again, it's good that they're taking some input from people on the ground level or in the trenches, as I like to say, that
Yep.
you know, kind of, you know, have their finger on the pulse of what's going on. And I think that's important. And I think, you know, you need that. I think there could be issues when you don't use that card in your deck. So glad to hear that they're
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah. One of the most important things about, the national and everything, because I'm getting ready to start my road to the national, tips and tricks and stuff like that. Do it every year, and everything. Kind of, it'll be repetitive each year, but there's a lot of new individuals that weren't following me before or new to the industry. Maybe the first time they're going to the national, they want to see this stuff, whatever. Like right now, we're 7 months away from the national. 7 months, right?
It's crazy.
Preparation, right? Going out and maybe buying your ticket now if you have a little bit extra funds, putting the funds away, figuring out where you're going to stay, everything else, getting your tickets right now and everything, right? And I got to bring it up a little bit, right? Because the whole Fanatics Fest and the national and stuff like that. I want people to understand, yes, I work for the national. I've done stuff for Fanatics and everything else like that too, and I'm planning, I'm going to go, probably going to be at Fanatics Fest also the month prior. Fanatics Fest is a fan festival. It is not a card show. It just so happened to have cards at it. The National is a card show. All right. Don't compare, try not to compare the two. There's
Yep.
so many people that are comparing the two, and you can't. That is two completely different experiences. When Fanatics, if they ever get to that role, has Panini, Leaf, all the card companies, anything that deals with the hobby at Fanatics Fest, now you can start comparing it to the national. But until then, I don't think they ever will get there. You can't compare the two. They're two different experiences. So you're going to have a lot of individuals this year that are going to say, I'm going to go to New York for a Fanatics Fest and not go to the national. If you're into this hobby, like you got to try to figure out how to get to both. Honestly, like if you want to experience, and I'm telling you, it's the Fanatics Fest experience was just incredible with the wrestling intros and everything else or whatever. But the national, there's no, it's the granddaddy of them all, right? And everything. That's where everyone knows. Circle on your calendar, the end of July, beginning of August. You are coming together to do this with your friends. You're gonna go out with your friends that you talk to online all day, that you chat with all day, that you troll every day, right? And everything else like that. You get to go see your favorite, if you're into breaking, your favorite breakers are there and stuff like that. The hobby personalities that are roaming around, be able to get to see them for the first time, right? And then on top of all the athletes. The athletes are there signing. There's some athletes that never signed before, that are at these shows, and everything else like that. There's the people, like so many people also forget about, you have that area where the signers are. They forget about the front area guests. You got stars like the guy from American Pie, and what was the um rookie of the year. That guy, that he
Yep.
he played in it. I forget his name. He's really big into going to the shows. Jason Page, the voice of the Pokemon, original theme song. He's always there out front. These people, you don't have to wait in line for. I mean, you wait in their little line, but you don't have to get tickets for. They're right there along the autograph rows out front. That so many forget about these celebrities. The Sandlot cast. They're usually, a few of them are there chilling and everything. I got to
Yep.
meet them at the CSA show the last show. It was pretty cool. These are the people, like, you just don't realize until you're there in front of you, like, oh my gosh, like, hold on, love that movie. I watched that movie so many times. Now I get to actually interact with you. You're not gonna be able to do that anywhere else. Like, it is
Yep.
legit the area of like a Comic Con right outside of the National. But I mean, you got all the exclusives with the National. You got the trade nights. You got everything. I mean, the world's your oyster there. And right now, 7 months out, 200 and some days, you should be preparing. If not, just putting a list of, I need to pay for my hotel, my flight, this by this date, this date, this date. I want to get my tickets. I want to get this or whatever. I've already seen they announced that, this person's signing, this person's signing. I want to get tickets to that. Do your stuff now instead of waiting till the last minute.
Yeah, no doubt. 7 months goes quick. Look, it
Real quick.
seems like we just finished the one in Cleveland, and that was 5 months. It doesn't feel like 5 months. It feels like it was yesterday, right? And so, in another 5 months, we'll be 2 months out. Like in Chicago, you make a great point. The hotels are closer to the venue, but they sell out quick. You don't want to. You're not going to get a good hotel or a close hotel waiting to the last month or two. So you really want to book that now. It's a great point by you. Another great point you make, Alex. Fanatics Fest and the National are different events, and they both might be great, but they're different events. I think it's sometimes unfair that we compare them
Yep.
to each other. I haven't been to a Fanatics Fest yet, even though it's basically in my hometown. I haven't got to one. I was 50-50 on getting to this year. I couldn't make it happen, but
People
like you
don't
said, there.
realize. People
Yeah,
don't
go
realize
ahead.
you're in New York. You're still what, 5 hours from New York City, being in Syracuse,
Yeah, oh
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yep,
it's not right there, but it's from your
yeah,
hometown where you grew up. But
yeah.
where you're at in New York now, it's still a nice little drive for you.
Yeah, and it wasn't even the drive. It wasn't even the. It wasn't even the drive, Alex. In this case, it was. I just had some other stuff going on that I couldn't squeeze it in. There would have been just too difficult, too stressful. But I'd like. I definitely. It's on my list to go to at least one, see what it's about, and. But it's a great point that these are not the same type of shows, and going to one isn't the same as going to the other. And I really appreciate you're pointing that out because that's what everyone who's went to both will
Yeah.
attest to. So well, listen, Alex, I appreciate you coming on, sharing some of what you do and the work you put into it. I always give the guests sort of the last word here. Anything you want to share, socials, website, whatever it is, throw it out there so people can see the content that you're creating and what you're doing.
All right, John, I really appreciate you having me on and everything. Again, like we discussed before, prior to even hitting record, like I can sit here and talk hours, hours, hours. I can keep going on and on and on. But majority of places where you can find
Well,
me is
we'll have you back. Watch what you say, because now you're
yeah.
officially invited back. But go ahead.
I come in studio, right? I need to take the drive up there and
Well,
do the
listen,
studio with
we'll
you.
do something. Maybe we'll do something in Chicago. So there
100%.
you
I'd
go.
be down for that always. You can find most of my stuff these days right now on Instagram. It's a lot of short form type of content. Occasionally I put some longer stuff on there or whatever. Um, a lot of people don't know this, might be breaking news like this new year, we're into the new year already. I'm going to be starting YouTube videos back up. And again, this is I'm not going to have a crew with me. Like that is it's a double-edged sword, see camera crews following someone and everything else like that. I don't want to be that person, but at the same time I want to be that person because I'm not going to show the transactional side. I'm not going to show the deals constantly. I'm going to show the hobby, the people, the community, the stories and everything else, the educational aspect, talking to individuals, asking them questions and having them ask me questions. That's the type of stuff I want to get out there, right? Will it get a lot of engagement? Who knows? Do I care? I don't. Right? I'm just doing this for fun. I like putting it out there. I like this is a lot of people I didn't say it in the beginning. I literally did this to get away from my real life. Back in 2008, going through the bad divorce and everything, like it's always been an avenue to get away from everyday life. And now it's
It's an
turning
outlet.
into a
It's an
little bit,
outlet.
yes, now it's turning into a little bit more of the everyday life on top of getting away from everything. So you can find me mainly on there. I do push out a lot of stuff over to TikTok too. How much longer it's going to be there, we don't know. Right now, it might not be there in a few weeks, but it's on there. The algorithms are different, but I do have a bigger following on Instagram and then YouTube. They're all under the same username, ArmyATC22. If you see anywhere, if you see Whatnot Fanatics Live, any of the forums, anything else, if you see ArmyATC22, that's me. I got them everywhere on Mantle, on everything. I went and quickly, hey, a new thing came out. Let me get it real quick, making sure no one else steals it. Some people have, they tried to, they're not fast enough.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
believe it.
and if you didn't know, I should have started this in the beginning. I was in the Army. I was an air traffic controller, so that's the ATC, and 22 is my lucky number. That's how I came up with my handle 16, 17 years ago. But all the social
So don't
medias,
steal it. Don't
yeah,
steal it because it's
don't
personal.
steal it. All the social media, you can find me on there. You'll see a lot of the interviews I have with athletes. I do at shows. I go to the CSA show, Philly show. I'm in the back room. I do some interviews with athletes, and a lot of times I'm doing a lot of content asking them about veteran stuff. Like, that was my original hook to get into the back rooms and stuff like that, to do media work, and was just like, I want to talk to these athletes about, hey, maybe their parents were in the military, they did something with the USO, maybe they had kids that joined the military, that maybe they went to the military academy and stuff like that. So the CSA show and the PR team really liked that angle, right? Because on top of that, I'm doing a lot of show floor stuff too, showing the collectors and stories and everything else, and it's just grown from there. And I'm still doing, like, when I get the lists of names from individuals that are coming to these shows that are signing athletes, I do my deep dive in every single one, see if anyone had the mother, father, whatever. Like at the last CSA show, I got to sit down with Larry Zonka. I sat down with Larry Zonka for it was like for almost an hour, but on film was like 7 minutes. I mean, you Syracuse alum, right? And
I
he
was
was
gonna
telling
say he's a legend here in Syracuse. So
just telling the stories that his whole family, the whole tree was military background, but he wasn't, and he missed the draft because he was at Syracuse and he got coded differently and didn't get drafted. And he just told that whole story and everything. Just me being a diehard Dolphins fan on top of it was just like, I'm just like, yeah, this is awesome, like, and everything, right? So you'll see a lot of interviews that I have with the athletes and everything else like that, but also showing the stories for a lot of stuff, and a lot of B-roll footage from these shows. So a lot of stuff on the East Coast. Occasionally I do get to go out to the West Coast. I've worked with Rizzo Sports and got to go out to the West Coast with them. And then went to Dallas for the first time this last year, Dallas in Culture Collision last year. For the first time and everything. So ventured out there. I want to try to get out of the Midwest. You're going to see a little bit more traveling possibly this year, because I am teaming up with the Tri-City Chili Peppers that are right here below Richmond. They do the Cosmic Baseball. I've done some of that, showed some of that footage on Instagram and stuff. So I'm going to be traveling with them because they're traveling for the first time. They're going to go to Toledo, Ohio. They're going up to Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, Nashville. They're going to somewhere in Texas. They're, I think, going Indy. They're going all over the places, and they've sold out AAA stadiums to do this Cosmic Baseball. Just think of Cosmic Bowling, but under the black lights, but baseball. If you go to my page, you'll see some of the stuff. It's incredible. It's like once you see a game like this, it's like I don't want to watch any other baseball game. Like it's wild.
yeah, yeah, that's
Um,
crazy stuff.
but yeah, so I'll be all over. This weekend coming up, I'm going to be at Virginia Beach. Actually, no, this weekend coming up is Raleigh. At the end of the month is a Virginia Beach show. All within this 2-hour range of where I live, in Richmond, Virginia. It's a lot of the shows I do around here. And I'm actually setting up as a vendor. I don't get to set up as a vendor as much. Some of these shows I try to pick and choose, bam, bam, I can actually set up because I have 3 tables worth of products. I have not products, but value boxes and showcases and stuff like that. And there's some of the best, so I've been told. So yeah, so if you're in the Raleigh area this weekend, 4th and the 5th, stop by. Stop by, Inside Pitch Promotions, setting up the show. It's going to be a good 2-day show.
There you go. Get a little rested in there too. Mix in a nap. If I'm a nap guy, so I like to mix in a nap when I can, Alex. But
Try
hey,
to.
man, I appreciate you're a busy guy, as I said. Appreciate you making some time for Sports Card Nation, and we'll have you as long as you come back. We'll have you back again as well.
We'll always come back. I always have a good
All
time.
right, good to hear. Thanks, Alex.
All right.